2 months ago, I don't know. They started, I mean, they got everything that had to be in before it got posted, right? They got all that in, but then there was like a deer hunting came out.
Yeah, I know that. I just wanna make sure it wasn't flash.
They just started this last, a week ago today. They started putting the walls on.
We,
Yeah, exactly.
Most of the manufacturers.
Yeah.
He started,
My kids are all like
November.
shopping for that.
Yeah.
For the adult kids.
I say that, put everything in,
Outside
see
the
to get in.
covers and all that.
It was like January before they got back in.
Because it's, you know, Mother Nature. Change.
Yeah, he's,
Next week is signal.
We'll call the meeting to order.
He just called the meeting to order.
This is the earliest I've ever seen.
I know we're excited about
Or
getting
latest
done,
I've
but
seen
let's
for
get
you.
started first. I'll call this meeting of the Board of Appeals to order. First of all, among my colleagues here, did any of you go out to visit the properties?
I did not.
I saw two of them.
Okay, Mr.
I did not see Uncle Mike's, I saw the other two.
Okay. All right. Who was, does anyone need to abstain from voting tonight, at least at this point?
No.
No,
And have you spoken with anyone regarding the variances before us tonight?
No.
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 All right. I'll entertain some thoughts on the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting in November.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion made and approved, made and seconded to approve the minutes from last meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
4-0, our meeting minutes are approved. Okay, we'll get right into item number 1. That would be Mr. Hinnendahl, Gail?
Hennendale.
That was close.
Yeah, very close.
Why don't you come forward and make your case?
I have lived on that property for about 12 years. I bought it as an older place, and about 12 years ago, we put a lot of time and effort into remodeling the house. We got various permits from the city at the time, and did a great amount of improvement. I propose to go ahead and get rid of it says shed there. It's real close to Nicolay Drive, and it's in ill repair at this point in time, and replace it with a larger unattached garage that Thielen's Construction would build for me. I have interested in cars and have a car hobby, and I am going to retire soon. I'd like to go ahead and be able to keep my automobile on my property, automobiles, and do a little bit of work, nothing commercial. I have a neighbor that's 2 doors down that had a similar building built about 2 years ago when I was before the committee at the time, and didn't have any objections to his. And it would be very similar and similarly placed to the gentleman 2 doors north of me is what it would come down to. So I'd like to stay in the city of Green Bay. I'm born and raised here. And basically, to me, it's important to have a little bit more garage room to pursue my hobbies that I have.
All right, and you're a foul of the city's ordinances in 2 ways. You've built too large of a second structure,
Right?
and also it's greater than the size of the house. Those are the two, basically?
And the placement of it, it should be to the side or rear of the principal use.
Yes.
Again, because it's a waterfront, it has that kind of dual frontage.
Yeah, the house was built facing the water. Again, it's from the 40s. Basically, so yeah, being between the Nicolay Drive and, I guess to me it's the rear of the house, but it's obviously the part that faces Nicolay Drive. So that's the one part of it, and being slightly larger than the house would be the other variance that was requested. I feel that it would improve the property. There's a lot of new construction going along Nicolay Drive, as far as all along the drive, and a lot of people are putting large houses on small lots. You notice that the lots, 474 deep there, and not very wide. So to build another garage or a bigger structure, I would definitely have to be on the well, between the Nicolay Drive and the house, not to, spoil the view that we'd be, because of course we're on the water there, and I don't think I could get to that part of it either way, so.
Questions, gentlemen, of the applicant? Okay, Madam Alderman, would you care to speak?
Sure. I drove out there today and, definitely, you wouldn't want to put that structure closer to the water. It wouldn't make any sense. And I think by taking down that shed, that will improve the property a lot right there. And I don't see any concerns at all. I'm very much in support
All right.
of him doing this.
Good, thank you. All right, should we deliberate? If you could have a seat, sir?
Sure, thank
We
you.
shall deliberate amongst ourselves.
Okay.
What do you think, gentlemen?
One thing I noticed is that a lot of the structures are in front garages and so forth, and the size, looks like along Nicolay are larger than, the two up, I think I think he said maybe 2 lots up is
Yeah.
a large structure, that's maybe even larger than the one he's proposing, so I don't have an issue with it.
Tommy?
Yeah, that was the question I was gonna ask is, again, I didn't have the chance to go visit, but I'm looking at Google Maps and stuff. There were structures, if you're driving down Nicolay to the right, are those garages as well on the right side, the east side of Nicolay?
On the east side,
Just up from you?
on the map here, basically, there's a spare lot right here that belongs to the fella across the street, right here. Those are homes.
Homes and
Those are
garages?
both Homes and garages, right.
Got it.
And the fellow who put the place up was, let's see, right over here, Brian, it's that large structure right there.
This is his garage?
That's
for this
his
spot?
garage that he put up
Got it.
there, right, and they just did that a couple years ago. Otherwise, there's a spare outlot here that belongs to the fella across the street. I've asked him numerous times to sell, he's not interested. And then, this house is currently vacant and for sale.
Okay,
That's
great,
about
thank
it,
you.
right?
Yeah, I don't have any.
Plus the principle of it's not very large in comparison to some of the other,
Yeah, I
Properties.
think the argument we can make, if we are, as a variance we would grant, is it's a narrow lot. He's not gonna be able to he's not gonna wanna put it behind him,
Right.
and he's got plenty of room in the front. The bonus that we get from getting rid of, it's a bonus that we get from getting rid of that shed, and I guess basically, I can't think of a good reason not to grant the variance. It looks like we may be in violent agreement, as you heard.
No. Tommy?
Let's wait for Noah.
Hey!
Hi, sorry I'm late, John.
What's up, dude?
No, we're still on the first one. This is the property out on Nicolay Drive. Did you have any thoughts or concerns regarding what they're proposing there? It's a larger garage-type building. They're gonna get rid of the shed out in the garage.
This piece here is gonna go away, and they're gonna build a structure. The 3 things are the ones listed here, so it's bigger than the house. It exceeds the 1,000 square foot limit for a garage, and then also it's in the front, but he's kind of in those weird spots where, like, is that the front? Is that the front?
Right.
So, I don't wanna lead the witness, but those were.
We didn't get to hear all.
And have you had the petitioner up here already?
Yeah,
Okay.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. Just a-
Are you split? Is that why you're so eager to hear?
Yes,
my
we are.
opinions?
Well, we can say that.
Okay, all right.
Just wanted to see if there's anything you had.
No, I didn't have anything to add to the
All right.
debate.
I will motion to approve the variances as requested.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Mr. Everman, seconded by Mr. Hoy to approve the variance requested for the property on Nicolay Drive. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good?
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Barb.
Nice to see
Nice
you.
to meet you. Anything else, Ross? No? Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Yep. All right, we'll get to item number 2. Mr. Clausen, Mr. Petrus, did I have the names correct? Whoever wants to make the case, come on up.
I can try to make the case.
All right,
Yeah, he said he'll make the case.
Come up and,
but, sir, you can come up too.
Yeah.
More the merrier.
this is the owner of the property, he's purchasing the property
Okay.
on the frontage road of West Mason and LeCount. And what we're proposing, the city has a 25-foot setback, but if somebody builds beyond the setback, we have to follow suit with the next home. So people have built beyond the setback there, and so what the city is saying, we gotta get beyond, line up in front of them homes. It doesn't work for us to line up the homes, because we're gonna be facing the frontage road. So we're gonna be 51 feet off the setback on the side, but we're gonna be roughly 30 feet ahead of the other homes heading down LeCount. And so that's what we're trying to do, is to get the variance so that we can sit ahead of them on the frontage road, but we'll be ahead of the homes that are sitting on LeCount. We're gonna be 51 feet off the setback line, and the requirements are 25, but the other homes are beyond. So we have to, or we're supposed to line up with the other homes.
Seems pretty clear. So why is the basis made to LeCount instead of the frontage road?
The frontage road, well, we only fit on the frontage road. We're
Yeah.
a foot or two short of fitting onto LeCount, but if we did go on LeCount, you can see where our backyard would be. We'd be roughly 10 feet off our backyard, which is what we'd have to be on a corner. 10-foot backyard is not a whole lot of backyard, but we are short of fitting by about a foot or two.
But you sort of fit with the other house, I assume it's your house.
Correct. That's right.
So it would seem that if somebody were judging the front setback based on that frontage road, it would work. But it doesn't work on the count, so I'm just trying to get a handle on why one was picked over the other, or
Well,
I think
one,
do they
They
have to
both-
meet both?
They both apply.
They
It's a
have-
corner side, we treat them the same.
Yeah,
So it's an infill lot. You have to really take the average of the homes in that particular block, up LeCount and then down the frontage road. And what happens is you get really tight really quick,
yep.
because the lot is somewhat odd, I guess you would say.
Has there ever been a house on this lot?
we used to
I don't know if it
do
was
it,
when they redid the road, they
Yeah.
tore it down.
Oh,
there.
that could be there.
Yeah, there was a farmhouse, but I think it was on the road up more towards Mason. I don't think it was actually on the lot.
It was a lot bigger lot at that
Yeah,
time.
I think it was acquired for the frontage road.
yeah,
And this is a remnant piece.
yep.
So what we're trying to do is face out towards the frontage road so that we fit.
Yep, yep.
Any comments from the neighbors?
I haven't talked to any.
I haven't talked to no neighbors, no. It would actually, the house on the frontage road, it would actually look, that's like a ranch, that's what I'd be building. It kind of looking like the house next door.
We'd be facing the same direction. You can tell by the 1 yard, I don't know, I see the dotted line on the other photo. I don't know if they lost part of their yard and it became part of 2984. But you can see he's got a big backyard off to the side, off to the north side of him. But right behind him, he's pretty darn tight to the lot line, the rear lot line.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting, isn't
And that's how ours would be. He'd be about 10 feet off that back lot line. We'd have to shrink the house up to fit it there. But he'd be about 10 feet off, so he'd be walking out his back door and basically sitting on his patio right with the neighbor. So,
I don't think this lot is, I could be wrong, but I don't think this lot is part of this lot.
is it part of,
It's part of this lot here, because this was attached to this little hook here. There should be a hook here that
it?
would
Oh,
show.
yeah, I see.
so it's attached to the house on the count,
Right.
1013?
Yep.
Okay, so his backyard.
So it is one large lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he must have- This must date back to that farmhouse too on the corner. Apparently, we've got an old farmhouse on the corner of LeCount and West Mason, and somehow this got carved up the way it did.
Correct.
I don't have any further questions, if you guys do. Okay, if you guys could have a seat.
Thank you.
Either we declare the lot unbuildable or we grant variance. That's pretty much where we are.
Yeah.
No way you could fit a house on it.
No,
Otherwise,
no.
unless we granted
And I
it.
think it would be reasonable for us to grant a variance based on the size of the lot, the shape of the lot, the history of the lot, and the front frontage determination by the house next to it on frontage road instead of the other road. But
I agree.
that's one of the problems with a corner lot, is this Board of Appeals makes its money on corner lots, so. We do make a lot of money here, right?
I move to approve the requested variance.
I'd just like to offer a comment when I went to visit the property, and I was wondering what's going to happen with the sightlines as far as the traffic goes, and I didn't see any issues. I actually took a couple of photos and sent them to Paul as I was on LeCount and looking towards the lot. And, yeah, there's
You weren't gonna see any problems
No.
coming up from the other direction.
not either from the access road or from LeCount.
Okay.
It's got good visibility both ways, so.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
I'll second Noel's motion.
Okay, regarding the property, the soon-to-be house on LeCount, we have a motion made by Mr. Halverson, seconded by Mr. Everman to approve the variance as requested before us. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll just call it Uncle Mike's Bake Shop sign.
Okay,
We don't have to wonder about who is and who isn't here.
right. Hi, I'm Mike from Uncle Mike's Bake Shop.
You're Uncle Mike, all right.
So, I know you guys got a digital copy of this. Here's a hard copy of the
Right.
United States Sign Council. How to figure out what size sign.
Man, I was fascinated by the math.
Did you
Flaw
want
in the
people?
math, actually, there was a misnumber, did you guys catch it? I wasn't asking
You should have brought donuts.
No, the turtle ones, oh my.
The third one.
So then here's a copy of what we're asking for. Oops, I'm sorry. And the last is the calculations for our sign.
Thanks. See here. It should be higher.
What?
If I'm reading this correctly, your total VRT was 12, but you carried down a 10. So it should be 59 times 12 here.
Looks like he has a calculation. correct?
So I
is
made a
correct.
mistake, you're saying?
Well, this is right.
Typo.
Okay.
It's a typo.
The result is.
And then this is what we're asking for.
Yeah, great. Good job.
Yeah, good job. Catching.
We'll note that Mr. Everman caught the typo.
And move that he does the math.
Yeah, on all further projects, he has to do
I was
that.
reading this and I literally thought, this stuff blows my mind, that like there's studies done where you can mathematically calculate what someone needs to see to recognize. That's amazing.
Right, it is.
I'm gonna read this at home. This is
Okay.
But it makes total sense. I mean, have you ever been driving on
Yeah.
the freeway, for example, and there's a billboard and the text is too small?
Yeah, 100%.
We comment on that a lot.
I was amazed that, I mean, when you're going 40 miles an hour, you're moving at 59 feet a second. I mean, that's,
Yeah. Love it.
so I guess basically our hardship is that, you know, we're sort of like an impulse type business and perishable products too. So it isn't like, you know, tomorrow we can sell what we made yesterday. So that's sort of where our problem is, the impulse and the perishable. And so we need to pull in as many people as possible. And, you know, it's sort of a complex situation there because you got 2 lanes, you got left turn, right turn, and the stop sign. You're dealing with all that while we're trying to pull you in. So, I know it comes out, I think 125 square feet is what the sign people recommend. And I think the city is at 50, and so we're going
You're
out
asking for
bigger.
86.
What?
Your sign is gonna be 86.
Yes, 86, right.
Okay, so basically your argument is that because of perhaps the speed along Mason Street at that point, that, at least in your argument, the city's ordinance restricting you to 50 square feet is unreasonable, or at least you have a good argument on why perhaps it should be greater given the speed along.
I mean, if you're driving along and there's a doctor's office or an insurance company, you know, you probably, you're not gonna see the sign and say, oh, I should pull in there, you know? You're sort of like headed there.
Yeah.
And our stuff is actually, you know, we have to sort of like convince you to come in, and you have to see it soon enough because of how fast the speed limit is there.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to reason an argument, at least in my mind.
Okay.
And these guys can decide what they want
Right.
to do. But, you know, basically you want to get a bigger sign, and the new argument that I think you're offering here is that we have a consideration of speed along Mason Street that could permit the allowance of a larger sign.
Like if it were a 25-mile-an-hour zone, we wouldn't be having the
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah, that's,
Right.
and we have to recognize that perhaps the city's ordinance does not reflect speed of the road on which the sign is placed.
Right, we don't calculate our requirements based on speed, we base it on a zoning district that's compatible with that particular use.
Right.
This is a neighborhood center use, it's not a commercial corridor per se, like you'd find on Mason or University.
Is it going in the same spot as the prior sign? Just,
There wasn't a sign there.
There,
there wasn't
this
a
is
sign.
new construction.
oh, okay, okay.
Where exactly is that with respect to Highway 43?
Do you know where Challenger is?
Yeah,
It's actually at the corner of Challenger and Mason.
okay.
So where you would turn to go into Culver's in the industrial park there, or to go to the movie theater, that intersection you stop at, and there's like, almost like a giant median between Mason and Finger Road. This is new development.
Right.
On the undeveloped portion of
Right,
of
right.
that median.
Yeah, there was a quadruplex there, or a
Right.
duplex there, or something.
Oh,
The fourplex was there. and we-
I think it was a fourplex
Right.
with a crummy old fence behind it.
Right,
so.
right.
Okay, well, the reason why I'm making a fuss about the argument that you're presenting is that I want to, at least in my mind, have an idea why we can grant the variance. Because otherwise, we're in a situation where you just want to grant variance for your convenience. And, I mean, granted, you have a really good reason, at least in your mind. But for some reason, we have to decide what is unique here and what's special that would require us or allow us to grant the variance. Signs are signs, they're tough, it's a tough ordinance to draw, so there's a number of reasons why we would consider this this way. So that's my spiel. I'll let my colleagues on the right and left ask questions or comment.
Are there other signs in the area that you're aware of?
On the other side of the street, well, no, there is some on that side, yeah, there is signs, you know,
Okay.
a block away or whatever.
Okay. What are the sizes, you know, I mean, like fairly big signs or?
Well, everything to the south would be the I-43 Business Center, which is heavily regulated
Okay.
for signage.
Okay,
You'd have to go quite a bit further east to find another commercial type development,
Okay.
like Quick Trip or something.
I would say Quick Trip is probably the closest one, I'm not even sure how big their sign is.
Okay.
I believe it's a 3x6. If I can just piggyback a couple of things. Todd with Creative Sign Company. You know, one of the things that Paul just touched on is that he's the last intersection before the industrial park. So the traffic there is where it starts to pick up and does go considerably faster than the previous or from the adjoining roads as well. It's a unique corner in that you are coming up to that industrial park. As Paul mentioned, just before that, you've got a lot of the larger signs along the Highway 41 corridor that run along there. As you pass and go all the way down, you run into the Quick Trip, which has got a larger message center, as well as Capital Credit Union, and I think it's then one other credit union that's right on the corner. Both have very similar sized message centers that he would be talking about. So, you know, the hardship is, like you said, it's kind of a fast-moving roadway, and in his business, the impulse buy is very important for him to make it lively.
Until they get in the habit of stopping for donuts.
All right, I guess we're, I don't sense any more questions from the,
Yeah, I've got a couple for Paul, but
okay, why don't you go
I
ahead?
do have one. This is gonna be internally lit, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, this is the proposed sign here, it's static text, and there'll be an EMC, electronic message sign.
Yeah, and at night you don't see the orange, you just see the white lettering. Paul, is this the height of this sign at 20 feet? Is that the maximum height allowed in the district?
It is.
Across the street, though, I think in the I-43 zoning, they're all like lower pedestal signs, aren't they?
They're all monument signs, it's a different zoning and different requirements.
Right, right. But what about the area limits for those signs? Are they similar, or
Very similar, they're in the 50 square foot range.
they are in the same range? You know, and I know too, when you look at like a Quick Trip or something like that, they've got a sign, but then they've also got the entire canopy of over the gas pumps, you know, that's distinctive, that's, you know, in effect a sign calling us in. I'm just curious if there was any contemplation of you know, lowering this sign or having that sign standard that's to the south of Mason there spill over to the development north of Mason.
Yeah, that's something we can't dictate as a staff. Certainly a monument sign would be allowed here, it could be a maximum of 6 feet in height with the same square footage. They've just chosen more of a pylon type of sign, pole sign.
I mean, certainly putting on a pylon sign as opposed to a pole sign would be something that would get it closer to eyeball level for the passerby. Is that something you guys
I think
contemplated at all?
that, in my experience, I think that this is the right direction for his location. I don't think a monument sign would be, I think it'd be too low. Due to the speed of the traffic, again.
Yeah, except I've spent a lot of time actually idling at that intersection as well, waiting for a light to change. So, I mean, there's certainly some opportunity to see sign
Sure.
while you're waiting. Thanks, I don't have any more questions.
Yeah, could you have a comment?
I do. I mean, I think some people thought this was my district, and it's just so close to my district.
Very
So,
close. I thought it
very
was too.
close, Right. And so I do want to speak in favor of this, though, because it is so close. So it's, you know, right by the people that would be in my district. So I think that, and I use that road a lot. So I think the higher sign is really a better idea. And I get what you're saying about Eileen at that, you know, but you almost are, if you're coming from this way, I have it on Google Earth here, since you said that, I just put the app in, whoever had Google Earth, but, and you know, you're driving past, you're already maybe past it before you have to turn around and go back at it, you know. Otherwise, if you can catch a sight of it before that intersection, oh yeah, Uncle Mike's, and then you can turn in and go in there. So I definitely think they do need, though, that larger sign to catch the attention of people. And I don't think it would look bad there.
Is
you
it
know,
obstructive of
aesthetically.
any views of traffic?
No, it would not be in the, any
Okay.
vision triangles or anything like that.
Yeah.
And actually raising it up does help too, because you only
Sure.
got
Yeah,
a small
you're looking
crowd.
through the pole, you're not,
Yeah.
the monument is where it's,
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I actually don't like monument signs.
Because they do obstruct.
Right, okay.
this is something that I pulled out, it's in your packet already. I looked at the PDF file before I came to the meeting. And the city, for maybe a step towards efficiency, they have a standard rule on signs, okay? When you start to look through this, it opens up a whole, you know, get out your calculator and see how big the sign should be. I think that this is maybe driven more by the people who are selling signs as opposed to, you know, a town that wants to have some semblance of uniformity in its sign. So I guess I like the approach that we have as a city with respect to setting a standard size. And I also like the opportunity where the speed limit is 40 miles an hour and you've got certain extenuating circumstances that it's brought before us and then we can decide whether it's appropriate or not.
Yeah, I would, I would just caution us from getting too deep into the weeds of trying to design a sign ordinance ourselves.
Right.
As long as we understand that we're not doing Ms. Dorf's job, we're interpreting and trying to round off the corners here and there. And keep it, as per episode instead of trying to develop a policy, I think we'll be fine. So are we in a position to,
I think I just want to reaffirm what Noel was saying too, that this is a major thoroughfare. Speed limit is 40 miles an hour. It's a controlled intersection, so it's not like you're in a rural town and you're just constantly driving 40 miles an hour. You have an ability to stop right at that particular location. So it's not like it's constantly through traffic. There's a stop sign there that will have you stop and look at the sign, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Okay,
In addition, we've spent a lot of time and effort in the business park to the south, regulating signs, keeping those signs down. Again, in this particular zoning district, we can't do that. There's that flexibility built in. But again, this is a neighborhood center. This is not a commercial district per se. It's not a C1 or C2, which might warrant a larger square footage of signs. This is a transitional area between the business park and the residents to the north. And that's why you see those requirements being a little bit more restricted.
it's very much a transitional area. Is it what used to be a resident, right, where he's put in?
Right, right, and there are other homes at some point that will probably be gone, be replaced with like uses, or credit union, or other types of uses that are
Yep.
more low-key and not true commercial. And I tend to think Uncle Mike's is probably a destination. You can, I guess, argue that or debate that, but I think its location, its visibility will make it a destination for customers.
Yeah. Thoughts, gentlemen? Are we ready to?
Is there any, is there any concern from any of the residential? Is there any asks around them about signage? And have you proposed this to any of the people that are living there that are, because it is that, like you're talking about, that transitional area? Has there been any neighbors being approached or people that live there saying, hey, this is what we're thinking and this is what we need and this is what we're asking for?
I guess, yeah, that wasn't presented to the neighbors, but I believe it's gonna be fairly close to the height of the building, so you actually wouldn't be seeing it in the neighborhood.
Yeah, you got one of the pictures that shows it.
I think anybody that lives in the neighborhood, like I live in one in Lineville, is happy when he came.
Yeah.
10 pounds heavier, but happy.
Yeah. I think there's no denying that people are probably excited that Uncle Mike's is coming, my wife's gonna be.
Yes.
Right, but the sign piece is the thing, you know? Oh.
Okay, well, I've rambled on. And I can't make a motion.
Where do you sit?
Well,
I
it's
guess
interesting,
that's the thing, is
nobody
this like a
seems to real
standoff
strong
zone?
on this. I'm, although I don't necessarily quite agree with every aspect of the case, I do get it to some degree. And I, you know, have done my share of supporting donut makers in this community as well. Yeah, I'm trying to think about what we're setting up for future development along that strip by granting if we grant this. And you know the rest of that's gonna get developed heading, you know, it's like the Quick Trip's gonna be the bookend, this is gonna be at one end, the Quick Trip's gonna be at the other end, the north side of Mason's gonna go commercial over time, I imagine, right? That's probably the long-term plan.
Well, this will be neighborhood center, the next block is office residential, then you get into the commercial where the Walmart site is. That leads up to Quick Trip.
So then what sort of signage are we seeing then to the east, Paul? Larger?
I think once you get
higher-
past Ontario, you'll see larger signage. I
Yeah.
think in this immediate block here between Challenger and Ontario, it's more.
Yeah,
of
and
the
you
lower
would
key
call this a
signage.
neighborhood center, and I can look at the Culvers and think that that's neighborhood center in terms of the use, not necessarily the zoning, the land use controls. The people who live in that neighborhood, I live over on Deckner on the other side of the highway, but certainly am over in this neck of the woods all the time, using some of the businesses there. This isn't a spot that's just gonna serve that residential area. I do think this is a commercial corridor that's gonna be more intensely developed over time, and recognizing that, I guess I would make a motion to grant the variance. Not wholeheartedly, but to see if it gets any support and can carry here as requested. Part of the other reason for it too is that the fact is that the at night, the lettering, the whole sign won't illuminate, but we're just looking at the letters illuminated. And I think that was another factor for me in liking it.
And actually, we close at 6 and our sign goes off and we don't leave our sign on all night, so there wouldn't be.
That's another selling point for me too.
Yeah, I'm okay with this.
That's a good point.
So we have a motion made by Mr. Halverson.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Mr. Halverson, seconded by Mr. Everman to approve the variance as requested for Mike's Bake Shop, Mike's Pie Shop, Mike's Bake Shop.
Bake Shop.
Uncle Mike's Bake Shop, excuse me, get it straight here. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? 5-0.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I'd leave, but I want to see what's in those boxes. I just can't.
Well, if you'd gone to the event, like two of us did, you guys could have had those there.
Oh, I see what you're, oh, I see.
I have no idea what's in
Happy
there.
holidays.
What is
You too.
that?
Little Cerrugi's.
Jeez.
When's the plane opening?
What's that?
It's in great, too.
Uncle Mike's.
I don't know.
Do you have any idea?
They're under construction.
What's that?
On the plane opening of Mike's?
I don't know, they just kind of started construction.
Place is gone, so I know it's clear.
Yeah, they've got foundation work going and some other stuff there, so it's starting to happen.
I think we can talk about adjournment.
A motion to adjourn?
Second. If you
Been
need
moved and seconded to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Actually, not sure.
We're done.
Thank you for